All right, so now that you have your notebook set up and you've answered your reflection questions, we're going to take some notes on the real number system. So on page 2 of your notebook, go ahead and write the page number and the title, the real number system. So pause the video while you do that, and then when you're finished, you can go back to the video. So when we first started school, the very first numbers we started learning about were called the natural numbers. So we have just the very basic numbers that we first started learning about. So that was the natural numbers, usually depicted with a big N. That was your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So, whoops. Let me make a... Okay. So it's like this bucket of natural numbers, and we have these following numbers that belong in the bucket. Natural numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Then we learned about a very important concept of the number 0. So it's really important that we know how to describe the idea of having nothing, and that was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. So we have this other bucket of whole numbers. So as you can see, the natural numbers belong in the bucket of whole numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are whole numbers, but the number 0 is not a natural number. It belongs in the whole numbers. So I'm going to let you pause the video, make sure you caught up on your notes in your notebook, and then when you're finished, you can keep the video going. All right, so the next step up after whole numbers are your integers. So you started learning about negative numbers. So -1, -2, kind of the concept of owing money, maybe. This is usually depicted with a big Z. So that's our negative numbers. -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So again, there are no fractions, there are no decimals here. It's more just they're still whole numbers, but now there are negative ones. So if you can see, whole numbers are just the positive integers, right? All these numbers in the whole number bucket also belong in the integers. 0 is an integer, 1 is an integer, but the negative numbers, -4, -3, are not in the whole number bucket, right? So that's the next step. Then you started learning about fractions. So instead of whole numbers, you started learning about parts of numbers. So make sure you have these 3 down, and then you can keep the video playing. Okay, so like I said, you started learning about parts of whole numbers, and that's called your rational numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and create a bucket for your rational numbers. So rational numbers, usually depicted with a big Q, are any number that can be written as a ratio of 2 integers. So a ratio is a comparison of 2 numbers. It's usually written as a fraction. So if I write 1/2, that is a rational number. So I have a question for you. Do you think 0.5 is a rational number? So pause the video here, think about it. Is 0.5 a rational number? Okay, so hopefully you said yes, 0.5 is a rational number, because even though 0.5 is a decimal, it can be written as 1 over 2, which is a rational number. I have another question for you. Do you think that the number 5 is a rational number? So pause the video here, think about it. Is 5 a rational number? So again, hopefully you said yes, 5 is a rational number, because any number can be written as a fraction if I just divide it by 1. Anything divided by 1 is just itself. So if I write a number as a fraction over 1, then it remains the same value. So hopefully you can see from these examples that even though a number is not necessarily written as a fraction, it can be. It can be written as this ratio of two numbers, and therefore can still be a rational number. So that's the third bucket. I'll let you catch up on your notes. Make sure you have all of these as a in your notebook. So let me, sorry. Make sure that it's all organized here. Sorry. Oops. So whole numbers belongs in there, and natural numbers can go in there. Okay. So make sure you're caught up in your notebook with all of these 4 buckets of numbers, and then we'll do the last set of numbers. Okay, so finally, the last set of numbers that encompasses all of these are your real numbers, usually depicted with a big R. So real numbers are just any numbers that lie, any number, whoops. Any number that lies on the real number line. So example, you can have 18, 6.8, the number pi, if you are aware of that symbol. If you're not, that's okay. We'll talk about that later. But you have any number that could potentially be on the real number line is a real number. And as you can see, all of these numbers that are in all these other buckets. So if sorry, it's just not. Anyway, all of these other numbers lie in this largest bucket of the real numbers. So go ahead and make sure you have all your notes for this page on the real number system. And then when you're finished, you are going to take a photo of your notes, upload it here on Dreamseed Do, and then you're going to move on to the next step.